Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm here with another special guest, Scott Donald, who is joining us all the way from Australia. Scott is a Google developer expert and a Google Cloud Champion innovator. He is also known for his fascinating role as a VFX Google Sheet Developer at Netflix, where he combines technology with creativity to build the smart workflow automation that enhance storytelling and productivity. So, today in this episode, we are going to talk about his approach, his journey, and his way to work with automation and flow. But before we dive into all of that, I would like to thank Scott for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Sharmit, and thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be on this podcast. As you mentioned, I am a Google Developer Expert as part of the Google Developer Expert program, just like yourself. And I've been working in the industry for quite some time. For about, I've been working in the industry 8 years and 1 day now from my website. So yeah, the anniversary was yesterday. Yeah, I create automations for businesses, from small businesses all the way up to large enterprise businesses, and help them out with their workflows and improve their recordings of data and presentation of data, all mostly through Google Workspace, but through other technologies too.
Okay. So, Scott, before we move to and discuss your expertise and your contribution for the IT industry, I just want to talk a bit about the beginning or the early days. So, please take us back to the beginning. Like, how did your journey with Google Workspace and automation start? And just let us know, like, was there any particular or defining moment that led you to work with workflow and automation, or how it was decided that?
Yeah, good question. There was a very defining moment for me. Back in early 2017, I was working as a faculty administrator, or I received the role as faculty administrator for a job in a Saudi Arabian university. And effectively, unbeknownst to me, I was taking on the position of two people, but there was only one of me. And the only way for me to survive was to automate. Before that, I had played around with different programming languages, but it was on and off, and uh, I didn't really take it to heart. But at that stage, I had to, and it was enough to motivate me into development. And at the time, we were very heavily invested in Google Workspace at the university, and also with the t learning management system called Moodle.
Okay.
And I had to create automation tools basically for the grading and the teaching, and teacher administration and assessment. A a priority I believed in strongly, and my boss at the time believed in too, was to take as much of the administration away from
Right.
the teachers so they could do what they do best, which is to teach. And I really took that to heart, and that was one of the driving forces around why I wanted to automate systems as well. But also to get things back to those stakeholders involved. So our deans had to report to their stakeholders, and we were, relatively slow by doing our administration by hand previously. But when we had the automation process, we could get things done the next day. So that's grades out to students the next day. That's reports to stakeholders the next day instead of, a week later, which can be pretty trying on someone who's trying to report to their bosses. But I think that the beauty of working with Google Workspace at that time was that I could spin things up very fast and see the results of it. And that was very exciting. When you're working on a large software project, that can take some time to get things to a point where it's, oh, wow, this is a great piece of software I'm making, or this is terrible. But with app scripts, you can make these little gains and you can see them live and you can apply them and put them into your work and see the benefits of them straight away.
Okay. And did it impacted your journey also? Like after receiving the title of Google Developer Expert, how was your experience? Like it impacted your work mindset also, or how it was overall?
Um, I've always come from the mindset of you just work hard and do things that benefit other people.
Yes.
And if you can get a win-win out of that, that's a real benefit. That's a boon to me. And it was really nice to have that recognition from Google to say, hey, you are producing content for the community, and they're learning from you and benefiting from you. And they reached out to me and asked me to be a Google developer expert for that. And it's always nice to have that sort of recognition.
Okay. All right. So now we will talk about a platform that everyone knows and I'm sure they are enjoying. That is Netflix. And luckily, like you are one of the creator, I would say because of your hard work, you got this opportunity to work as a VFX Google Sheet developer at Netflix. And that's quite fascinating and unusual title also. So could you please tell or inform us bit about your role, just unpack like what this role actually involves and how it connects technology with the visual storytelling process.
Yeah, sure. It was a bit of a surprise to me when a recruiter reached out to me for this too. So very much curious. And that's probably drove me to accept the position because and that and the great bunch of people I work with, um, I love working for myself, but this was a really interesting opportunity. And it's funny. It's what you see on the screen when you're watching a show on Netflix is just the pointy end of a very complex production system.
Right.
And the team that I work with is like a very small part of that, but they work in how to control structured bidding processes for visual effects. So we're sort of more to the finance and bidding side of things, the less attractive side of the actual show that we're trying to make amazing for you. But it's in its own way, I find it very fascinating because you're trying to make the most and maximize what you can do with VFX and the money that you have to produce for those shows. And we do a lot of work around making that come to life. And it was funny, my now boss started on his own building a automation system around bidding, and he created this amazing, elaborate system for visual FX production bidding, and all on his own. And he works some massive hours to get it done. But then, he brought us on to help automate and improve the process, and make it faster and make it more solid, and help us move our product to the next step to help our producers. And yeah, since it's been a great ride the whole way. Um, but yeah, it's funny. We've been really taking Google Workspace and Google Apps Script to its absolute limit.
Right.
Um, and maybe if you've been in a developer for a while, you probably think, okay, well, that's not very far, but it's a lot further than we thought it might be. And we also acknowledge that there are limitations on what you can do with a spreadsheet and some automation code behind it, or in the workspace environment. And we sort of use Google Apps Script and Google Workspace to prototype a lot of work and then move beyond that. But that's also benefited from us. We've benefited from that quite a lot, especially now because AI has become a huge part of the VFX industry, and it's going to change it significantly. So it's allowed us to be able to move with the times and pivot quite rapidly. But if you're working and building a standard software tool, then that pivot wouldn't be as fast as what we are able to do.
Right. And I think it's for like those who enjoy watching shows on not Netflix, and at least they can put some faces of those person who are working tirelessly to provide these kind of content. And because as you mentioned, like it's a teamwork, there are lots of people who put their effort to provide that to produce that particular show or the visuals that are coming on the screen. And you guys are doing really very great job because that's why like everyone is loving that platform and the content that is consumed there. So it's a great and kudos to all of you.
Awesome.
All right. So now, Scott, we will talk about another platform that is also contributing a lot for the IT folks. So, and I'm sure like many of the audience know you as a face behind the yagnistudio.com. So, what inspired you to start this platform? And could you please tell us a bit about this platform and also the journey with this platform, like how it evolved over the years?
Yeah, sure. So Yagi-san today started 8 years ago in one day
Okay.
from the point of this recording of this video. And it started as a way for me to make a record of what I was doing, and then I could work from home, or if I'm on vacation, I had to do some work, I could go reference the code that I had written. And from there, I got a lot of comments and feedback from that blog, and I started writing more and more tutorials based on that feedback and more of my own work and spread it out there. And people seem to really enjoy it and get a lot of information out of it. And then from there, I went on to creating YouTube videos. And people again seem to enjoy the videos and learn a lot from that. So it's just been a case of building stuff for myself, but also there's the heart of the educator that's been in me for many, many years now. And sometimes you just can't help yourself to try and help other people too.
Right.
And it's always rewarding to see what people do and where they take what I've, shared with them and create careers of their own or create code and automations of their own to make their lives better. But an interesting side effect of that was that when it was time for me to go out on my own, it made a really handy resume for clients and employees in
Hmm.
the long run. So yeah, it was a win for me too.
That's great, like how your contributions are helping overall the industry, and especially those like who wanted to learn something new, because nowadays we know that there are lots of content, but that content that is filtered, that is like prepared by someone who actually using or utilizing it in the day-to-day life. So that comes from that expertise, right? So they have those kind of learning material. And just to confirm for the audience, like is it available on YouTube as well as there is a website, right? So what's the channel name for the YouTube? Is it the same?
Yeah, yeah, the channel name's the same. It's yagisan.com. It's a very unusual name. It's a Japanese term from when I used to live in Japan, but
Okay.
Yagisanatode. But you can get that on YouTube or my own personal site.
So is there any particular purpose of keeping this name as your channel name? Like what is the exact meaning of it?
Well, it's weird. It means after the goat. There's a bizarre story behind this. When I was teaching in Japan, they wanted a young, attractive, white American girl to be teaching the class, and clearly I am none of that. Uh, so I was introduced after the pet goat to really emphasize that I wasn't welcome. And it made me laugh, and it reminded me to be humble and then to strive to impress them. And then over a period of time, we earned each other's respect. And I think it's just a case of, stay humble, enjoy what you do, try and do your best for other people and serve them well.
I think that's why like people are loving you, because in fact for selecting the channel name, like you have worked worked so much and you have decided that yes, this is the perfect name that will be representing your name. So it's great, and I'm sure like most of the audience who are watching this podcast, they will also go and explore the content that you have already put there. So that,
Yeah,
thanks for
great.
the contributions. Okay, so Scott, now like we know that you have worked across diverse industries, whether it's education, it's a legal, construction, and many more. So, how did these experience shaped the approach to building tailored automation solutions? Because you have worked and you have exposure all these different kind of domains. So, how it has impacted your approach of building the automation solution?
Hmm. It's um It's taught me that, like, while there are a lot of similarities and core utilities I can use to help my clients, I think understanding a business and their needs and the industry that they're in is really important
Mm-hmm.
because that allows you to create a custom-made solution. And that's always going to be better than fitting, a square peg into a round hole or fitting your ideology of the setup of code that you have into what they want. So customizing and making bespoke code for your clients is probably the revelation that I had. And I do see a lot of developers come at a project with their own predefined structure rather than take the time to listen to the clients and see what they need and take the time to research the industry, particularly if it's an industry you never worked in before.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And also, like another question is like you have also helped the companies across different industries, like from education to engineering and from in order to optimize their workflows. So, what's the common pattern you see in the business that succeed with automation versus those that don't succeed with automation kind of thing? So, did you find any similarity between them?
Yeah, I think probably the most successful companies have really run with their automation is there's always someone in leadership
Mm-hmm.
who is curious about improving workflows and making them faster and more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably why you get approached for a particular job, and they can see that there's something in what they're doing that could be improved. And having that curiosity is vitally important to them. And then that same person probably needs to have to set realistic goals of
Okay.
what they want. It's hiring a software engineer can be exciting, and the idea of being the ideas person behind a software service can excite a team and make them come up with more and more ideas and more features that they want to add. And I find some of those leaders who go, okay, let's just get this minimal viable product out to us and have it working for us and benefiting us. And then we can talk about, improving things and having new great ideas in there is has always been a way, always been something that I find those people are the most successful. And
Okay.
they really run with the software and they continue to use things and they strive and they excel beyond their competition.
Okay. All right. And Scott, like I believe, and I'm sure like most of the people feel the same, like automating a business workflow is not everyone's cup of tea because it needs lots of expertise and experience and skill set. So when an expert like yourself started to begin automating a business workflow, so what's the first thing you look for, like as per your work experience and your exposure so far, what few things that you prefer to look when you are building a automating solution for a business workflow?
Mm. I think I think really got to take the time to understand the business and what the
Mm-hmm.
stakeholders actually need. You can't, as a software developer, it's easy to start spitting out our own language of what we want to and what we say in the software engineering world. But oftentimes your clients don't know that language and they're trying to articulate something they're not quite familiar with. So
Yes.
really spending the time to talk to them and to get a clear picture of their needs. And that may mean having a few meetings or talking to the actual people on the ground who are using the software that they want built. And then we can look at the performance gains or see what they actually want. Like, do they want performance gains? Do you want greater clarity in your workflow? Do you want greater accuracy? Do you want more speed or more
Mm.
insights in your data? And then also looking at, like I mentioned before, what is unique about their business or industry. They may have things like compliance or laws that they have to abide by, and they may be different from a different industry. So you need to take those things into account because you need to shape your software around those compliances and those
Right.
laws that they have to follow.
Yeah, and I think requirement gathering is something that really needs a good exposure because when you are going to interact with the client, you need to understand their actual problem, the requirements. Then only like you can document the things and the team can work upon it, right? So I'm sure like if someone is watching this podcast and they want to pursue the similar kind of profile for working, so they need technical skill for sure, but apart from that there should be good communication skill because that is the only way through which you are going to communicate with your clients to understand the requirement and to build the solution that they are looking for. So I'm sure like it Scott's journey and his guidance will also help you to understand the actual process that he and other expert like himself are implementing daily basis. Moving ahead, Scott, let's talk about some of the features also because I'm sure like some of the teams are using it, but some of the teams are avoiding using Google Workspace on the daily basis. So, in your opinion, like what are the three simple automation that can save hours every week, and that anyone can utilize? Then that anyone can also try to utilize in their day-to-day work.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on what you're doing and what work you're doing.
Right.
And if you've got a structure already set up that's outside Google Workspace and it's working for you, great. Just work with that. But if you're working in Google Workspace and want to explore that, you have that curiosity. If you're a small business, for example, it's probably you'll probably get a lot of gains out of automating your sales and invoicing process. So you don't need a lot of fancy, expensive software to do this, especially if money is tight in a small business, for example, you can automate relatively fast to, get something simple together, receive purchases or bookings or assign work or stock or respond to clients and pay people
Mhm.
with a minimum amount of effort. You can start off with a simple mail merge, for example, for a Google Sheet or a doc. So you could set up, a document that looks the way you want, for example, an invoice, and then have another spreadsheet with a bunch of data in it that you just automatically feed into that, creating PDFs that automatically get emailed out to clients.
Yes.
A very complex and time-consuming process that could be cut down into a matter of seconds. You could automate your email filtering. If you're receiving invoices, for example, you could, and then they come from the same client over and over again, then they are likely to have the same sort of pattern. And you could just create a script to read that pattern and put that straight into a spreadsheet for you. So you've got your records already set out. You don't have to feed through all your emails to get that data. Another great tool, I think, that Google Workspace has done very well is to combine Google Forms with Google Sheets.
Mm.
And a lot of the heavy lifting is already done for you. You don't really even need to code if you don't want to with this, because you can connect your Google form directly to your Google Sheet,
Right.
and that will feed a lot of the data in. Now, if you want to automate that, even better. I mean, you can set up triggers based on the form information that you get to send back out emails to client answering their questions straight away. Or you could have those form responses trigger other automations throughout your Google Workspace environment to do some great stuff for you too. So
Okay.
yeah, I think they're probably pretty good ways of automating a process and saving yourself a bunch of time.
Yes, it's yes. And on the behalf of those audience, let's say if someone is from non-technical backgrounds and they wanted to start their journey with the workflow automation and they want to explore few things. So what do you think? Like, what are the best resources, or I would say, what advice would you like to share with those to start at least uh, the basics of workflow and automation?
Um, I think Google Workspace is a really good place to start
Mhm.
because you can make something very quickly and get the results on that straight away, and that could impact what you're doing in your work, and that's extremely rewarding. Um, but I mean, I would recommend spending some time reading guides and tutorials, but think about them in a way that allows you to go, okay, how can I add to this? How can I customize this to what I want to
Mm.
do? And then actually go out there and test that theory and make mistakes and fail and read the errors and try and fix them up for yourself. This is being actively involved in the learning process is far more profitable for you than being a passive learner and just sitting there tutorial. And it's great. I One of the most rewarding things that I have, especially with my website and the videos that I do, is seeing the comments section and seeing people say, "Hey, Scott, I've made this, and then I've added this to it," and I'm just like, "Mate,
That's
well done. This is amazing." And not only and it makes me feel great because I know that they're actively involved in the learning process, but also other people are seeing those comments too and thinking, hey, what if I can do this? And it inspires
mm.
other people to, take what I'm showing them and make something else out of it and hopefully get another comment on my site saying, hey, I've made this as well. And we've got this little collaborative community of people
Right.
making things and adding to it. And then hopefully they get to the stage where they don't need a guide or tutorial or need much less of it and they make their own project. And that's where you really learn. And starting on your own project and solving things as a developer is a great way to just to expand your knowledge so much faster than any other approach.
Right. And I'm also agree with this point that the best part of the best way to share your knowledge, because when you are sharing your knowledge and when you see that yes, folks are also trying that, so it's quite rewarding when you get to know about their solution, that yes, after watching a content, whatever, whether it's your blog or videos, when it helps, they will simply reach out. Like I personally feel the same kind of thing. Like I got lots of email that yes, you shared this video and I got to work, I got my solution, I delivered my task to the client. So that is the most rewarding part. And when you are preparing the content in order to sharing your knowledge, so for sure, like you have to spend lots of time to study it, to make it simple, so that others can use it. So that is also helping you as your as a person, in order to learn the things, and are also helping the community, because you are sharing your knowledge, and then someone, like as you mentioned, someone comment that yes, this is the solution that we got. And so it's a kind of way to make a community in a
Mm.
collaborative manner. So that's the best way to work with. All right. So now let's talk bit about the solutions, because you have worked on many bespoke solutions. Can you share one automation project that drastically transformed how a company worked, and what can our listeners can learn from that journey or that project?
I think maybe this is not the most glamorous,
Mhm.
but probably the most beneficial thing for I've created for a client. And it was creating an induction sign in, sign out sheet system for one of my favorite clients in the construction industry.
Mhm.
And it was early stages of COVID, and they just got a new government legislation to do all the COVID compliance in the construction industry, and it would have been a huge amount of paperwork for them to deal with. But they reached out to me like on a Thursday, and they needed to complete their compliance by the Monday morning. And they're a great bunch of people, and I thought, I got to get this done from just this an MVP, so they can get underway on Monday. This has to happen. So I went through the weekend and created a really tight system. Basically, I was using Google Forms again,
Mhm.
in conjunction with Google Sheets, and set up sort of QR codes for people to sign in and sign out. And the induction process was basically a Google form, which they filled out just once, but it was related to a unique ID of that person. So, and then once they finished the induction process, it was sent to the site manager, and the site manager approved it, and they received all the photos and stuff that they needed for being on the work site. And once it was approved, they received an email back. That email was a link just to sign in straight away. So it's all filled out for them, ready to go. And if you know construction workers, especially in Australia, they don't want to do paperwork. They just want to do their job. So, so beforehand, they had to sign a bunch of stuff and then fill out a bunch of paperwork. So they were pretty happy that all they had to do was press a few buttons, they were done. And and so yeah, from their point of view, they were happy. And then when they had to sign back in, all they had to do was press another button. If they went off the site and they forgot to sign out, they could do it from home because it was on their phone. So yeah, it worked out really well. And from that point, I got some more feedback and they wanted to expand on it. So I got the MVP out for them Sunday night, and they got it all ready to go Monday morning, 5 a.m. for them, and they were super happy. So previously, it's all handwritten sign in, sign out processes. The induction process was handwritten forms, and they had to type. The site managers would had to type all those into, a spreadsheet, and then there's chances of mistakes and errors for that as well. But because of the automated process, those errors reduced significantly. The amount of work the site managers had to do reduced
Hmm.
significantly, and they could just get on with doing their job. And I get requests from them occasionally to update it with new compliance things, or they want some sort of cool improvement to the sign in, sign out sheets process, and I still tinker with it for them to make those improvements and amendments as the years go by. So it was really rewarding to see, and I think what listeners can learn from that is that you know if you could just find something interesting in what you're doing to help someone and show that you genuinely care about, what
Hmm.
they are working on, it makes a huge impact in your relationship with your clients.
Yes.
And you try and find simple issues at the beginning to get things up and going straight away, that are accurate and error free. And then from there, you can expand on, adding extra features and extra tooling to whatever you're building for your clients.
Okay, so Scott, we discussed about your role with Netflix. We talked about your contribution through yagnistore.com and the other advocacy activities that you are doing through as a Google developer expert. And it's quite inspiring to know about your journey and to talk about the advocacy activities that you are doing. But before we move further, and because although like we have plenty of things that we can discuss here in this podcast, but we have limited time. But before we leaving the discussion, I just want to ask to know about those key persons who have helped you in your journey in order to become a person you are today. So who were those key people who have influenced your journey?
Yeah, I mean, countless blog posts and guides and help forums, obviously, but more recently, when I became a GDE, I got to meet some amazing people from Google, especially Steve Basil and his team of developer advocates that are all around the Google Apps Script tooling system and Google Workspace in general. These are the guys who have created Command, which is like the command line app script offline version for app script, and a whole bunch of other tools and support they give us as Google developer experts to help us go out and
Yes.
talk about and share our knowledge. Definitely my fellow GDEs, all the GDEs, yourself included, just inspire me to keep going out there and providing more tutorials and meeting people and helping encouraging people to learn to automate processes. Definitely a big shout out to Charles Maxim and Eric Kalita. They were former Google developer advocates, and I just admire them deeply for their ability to motivate people and engage with people on tech and software and automation development, where it can be a very dry subject. Especially these two guys just make it so inspiring to get in there and have a go at things. I suppose most recently, weirdly, I've been getting more and more into low level programming.
Mhm.
And a big shout out to Bill Hall. He's probably more commonly known as Ginger Bill. He's the creator of the Odin language. Um, what he has produced and the blog posts that he's written about creating a whole programming language has been very inspiring to me to understand more deeply about how software works in larger systems. So yeah, it's probably missed a bunch of people, but that's
Yes.
probably about it.
All right. So, yeah, thank you so much, Scott, for joining us in this episode and for sharing so much information about your work and your journey. It's quite inspiring for all of us, and I'm sure like people will resonate with this. And good wishes for your ongoing projects. And I hope like we will see more products and more things that you are going to contribute in the future. So, thank you once again for being a part of the show.
Thanks so much for having me.